إن أعجبك الفيديو لا تنسى الإعجاب والاشتراك في القناة.
And our homes push out into those boundaries, there could be some negative interactions in the future. So our focus is on targeting the breeding females, removing them from the system while new techniques get developed. We really need to get on this problem. These animals are expanding their range, they're gaining ground, and they are severely impacting our native wildlife. The question I would pose to you is, looking at these animals, what do you think they've been eating? What do you think they haven't been eating out there? To attain this size, this is a 152-pound female Burmese python. To attain this size, it's jaw-dropping what this animal would have consumed during its lifetime. Because we're going to pull this snake off the table. This is a... Sure, yeah. In fact, I want to get a photo of this on the table before we remove this. No worries. All right, snake team right there, real quick, because this is. Awesome. Yeah, take this all in, because you're not going to see this many female pythons from Collier in one spot for a while. We're going to start doing a necropsy on all these animals, get the full official egg count from this season. The other thing that's important that will spare you those gory details is we're interested in the gut contents. So in a full necropsy, after counting the eggs and looking at the reproduction, we will take a sample of what's left in the intestines and the guts, and that'll get sent off to the University of Florida. And just from a hair or some feathers, we'll add to the species list of animals that they're eating. All right, you guys ready? So we're going to take this snake. Everybody's going to grab a piece of it. Okay, there we go. They are beautiful animals. I mean, they truly are. Might take me time to convince some of you of that. But. All right, let's pull her all the way to the wall. Okay, so we're going to get a tape. Do you want to hold that? Put it behind you. Okay. Got her? Okay, cool. I'll pull it tight. Yep, pull that tight that way. All right, so... if you want to come and see this, this is a 17-foot python. That's a tape. Actually, it's 17.1. And this is the longest snake that's come in on the study in 4 years. And to my knowledge, this is the longest documented Burmese python this side of State Road 29 in Collier. So she's a monster and a very impressive python by any stretch. Okay, so great camera angle here. I mean, get her in her full glory. We're going to flip her over, flip her over. And then we're going to start all right, we got that. So do you want to write the length? All right, so Jamie and Ian are going to start the necropsy. Yeah, you ready, Jamie? Roll her over after you. Okay. This is going to take a little time, guys, so... hang in there, bear with us, but we don't want to rush this. We want to do it right. So we're assuming a pretty good clutch of eggs right here. And while we're waiting, if you do have any questions, well, stop talking. Feel free to ask, but it's a good angle there, the cutting. Feel free to get in there for some angles. It's the longest we've got on the study. It's a 17-foot, 1-inch female python, and she weighs 152 pounds. It's not the largest snake we've pulled on the project. The biggest snake by mass was a 16-foot, 185-pound python. You had to see this thing to believe it. It was massive. It was full of eggs. Actually, these are eggs under the TV over there. Get a shot of later. Those are filled with foam. Those eggs had hatched or we caught them before they hatched. Go ahead, Jamie. Jump in when he's... Sure. Jump up there, Jamie, and help pull it apart. So Jamie's a conservation associate here at the Conservancy, and Ian is a wildlife biologist, and they're part of the snake team. And so they're performing a necropsy on this 17-foot, 1-inch female Burmese python. We are going to get an egg count, a developing egg count, and then later they'll also take some samples from the stomach, and we can determine what this animal may have been eating, although it looks like a little bit of everything over the course of her life. A pretty impressive creature. We've developed a healthy dose of respect for these animals out there. And keep in mind, they're not here from any fault of their own. They were released or escaped from the pet trade, and they found South Florida to their liking. And the ecosystem is not ready for a new giant snake in the system. The animals don't seem to have a defense against this, and we're witnessing the native wildlife, the greater Everglades, being turned into giant snake, real time. And so that's what you're seeing here today, this true scale of the problem. This is very much not a trophy shot. This is an impact statement. We're putting all these animals out there just so you can see them all in one place. These are all females. They're all full of eggs, and these are a quarter of the females we brought in this breeding season alone. So they're just set, all from Collier, not terribly far from here. Don't be afraid. They're not interested in us. They're interested in our native wildlife for sure. You can only imagine what it took in pounds of native wildlife and types of species to make snakes of this size. It's a 17-foot python. There's two 15-foot pythons on the table, some 14-foot pythons and 13-foot class snakes. So they're making an incision along the belly. You can get in there with the camera. There are some things you can't unsee, so be careful. But this is what we're dealing with, so we need to see it. So they're making an incision, then they're going to get through the fat layers. Going to get them some paper towels for when it gets a little juicy. I'll put some paper towels here. I'm going to get another roll. Perfect. Take your time. Should I get a tray, or are you just going to kind of expose it? Okay. Yeah. Are they white?
They moved down, so maybe they're not white.
But there's still a bunch of them in there, right? Here they are. So what you're seeing here, don't get confused, and it's going to make a little more sense. There's fat bodies here. So this is the fat of the land. This is what they've assimilated from the native wildlife. And then underneath this will be the eggs that he's going to expose here in a minute. And we'll get a count. This animal might have a pretty high, I would imagine, pretty high egg count. Maybe more than we've seen to date. And this is just one female of many. We really don't have a handle on how many of them are out there. Okay, still. They're on their way. Wow, there's a lot of them. It goes all the way down here. Yeah. Okay, take your time. There's a lot of them. Come on, come closer. Come on. They won't bite.
There's a whole unseen eggs. These are eggs here. Oh my goodness. See?
Yes, these are fat bodies. These would have all been future pythons this season. Look at them all. It's just, this is an egg-laying machine. Yikes. This may be the most we've seen. We'll see. All right, so yeah, we'll try to keep you guys from the Gallagher zone here.
All right, you want to start counting them. So,
Okay. Yep. What side is that? The left over here? Okay. I'm gonna be quiet while I count.
Okay, so there's 49 on the right side.
Wow. Okay. So one more side to go.
Yeah.
This may be a record-breaking egg-laden snake here for Collier for sure. So this is going to air at dinner time, huh? Wow. $43. Average clutch size we found for Collier is 43.
46.
So
Over 90.
over 90? I think that may,
95?
well, I think 93 or 97, I'm not sure, may be the record on the East Coast. That's not the point of this exercise here. So this is by far the largest developing egg mass here in Collier. What is that?
So
These would have been two more?
Yeah.
They just didn't drop in?
Yeah, it looks like they're. Yeah, I don't know if I can.
Would they have? Yeah, we won't count those. Wow.
But like that. So okay. So yeah. So these ones. Maybe these would have been pushed out.
So do a double count. We'll do a double count again before we put this animal, just to make sure. Fold these eggs back in here for a nice photo moment. And then, yeah. So what's the official number? 95 eggs. By far, this is the largest mass of eggs we've seen in Collier from a 17-foot female python. And so Ian's holding up, that's fat. That's a fat layer right there. Those aren't little eggs in here. These are the eggs developing. And these animals are remarkable when they get a prey item, how they can turn that into reserves. And this female was clearly eating very well in the off season to be able to put this much energy to her eggs and still have these fat reserves. So if this animal was not captured last week, in the next couple weeks she would have deposited all these eggs, and she would have made a clutch in sort of a round mass, and she would have coiled herself on top of those and incubated those for 2 months. And give or take a week or so, around 4th of July, we tend to see the little baby pythons hatching out in Collier County, and then they are unleashed into the ecosystem. They do have predators. Alligators get after them quite well. We do know that indigo snakes eat baby pythons. And then there's a host of other predators that we haven't officially documented yet. But much like a baby alligator hatchling, before these animals reach apex predator size and status, they're vulnerable to other predators in the system, and then they turn the tide back against them. So you've heard of some of the mammal decline theories on the eastern Everglades, and some people are pointing the smoking gun at the Burmese python. The animals over here, we still find prey remains of raccoon, possum, rabbits, foxes, wading birds, deer. I've seen alligator inside photos of pythons on here. On the East Coast, some of their pythons that they're necropsying and looking in the stomach contents, there isn't much diversity of native wildlife showing up because they've probably eaten all of that wildlife so far. And if you had told some of us biologists here that we would be tracking giant snakes 10 years ago, we would have thought you were crazy. And here they are. So there's a lesson here. This one is out of the bag. This Burmese python is very much out of the bag. In it, there's a learning lesson here. What's next on the scene? Are they Argentine black and white tegus? Are they Nile monitors? Is it something yet? How many? 95?
Yeah, it's 95.
Wow. And 2 are still not dropped into the...
Yeah, I don't know the state of these ones, but I'm not going to...
Don't open that? Okay. So 95 developing eggs in a 17-foot, 1-inch female Burmese python from Collier County. And all of these on the table are female Burmese pythons that would have a sizable egg count. I doubt 95. So on this table, we had 740 pounds of python sitting here, over 100 foot of snake, And over the next couple days, we'll finish the necropsies and get an egg tally this season. But this is arrested development. We're catching them before they lay on their eggs, and these animals have a chance to hatch and go out in the ecosystem. And during 4 breeding seasons on this research project, once we really started to learn this animal's behavior, we got very effective at removing them. Early in the breeding season, starting in November, we'll actively search or hunt for these animals. We don't use any weapons. We just use our hands. A lot of it is from a vehicle. Some of it's from foot surveys. And then candidate animals, males of a certain size, we found we can employ them, turn them back into the system, and they only have one thing on their mind for those months. They are looking for females like this. And they are a heat-seeking missile, so to speak, to female Burmese pythons. So combining hunting and tracking, we've removed over 6,500 pounds of Burmese python and removed over 3,000 developing eggs from a pretty small area of Collier County.
Where did you find them?
Most of our study area is along the Tamiami Trail, so way out rural eastern Collier. But we keep tabs on where these animals are showing up and where they're moving, and each season they're gaining ground. There's an app for the phone that you can download, the I've Got One app, and that's very important because we do need an army of observers out there that are looking for these animals, that know how to identify a Burmese python. Clearly, if it's this size and it doesn't have a rattle on its tail, it's a Burmese python. The eastern diamondback rattles